Hey everybody, so I've been thinking, since 2022 is the end of both My Hero Academia titles, I'd love to start speculating on how the final battle will go for the series. And don't get me wrong, in 6 months my idea of how the series may end will probably change. I mean, since it's the beginning of the year and because we know both titles are ending in 2022, figure it's now time for the perfect amount of speculation. And when My Hero Academia finally ends, we can look back at the time we all piled inside of the bar to speculate how it ended. So look, if it weren't obvious enough, if you're not caught up, make sure you read the most recent chapter of Vigilantes or My Hero Academia. When we head inside, you know the deal, it's like the Wild West out there when it comes to spoilers. So if you don't want to be ruined for either title, read up and then come on back through for a drink afterwards. Though now, let's go inside and grab ourselves a drink. Welcome to the bar, folks. So, to talk about the end of My Hero Academia is to genuinely talk about the end of an era. I mean, looking back, once upon a time, My Hero Academia was the only worthy successor to the big three. There weren't many hitters coming out left and right, and that is literally like the hidden mass appeal of My Hero Academia, because in 2013, there's no way to read My Hero Academia legally. You are just reading scanlations the entire time. It's not until late in the last decade that a subscription service appeared that was like, hey, read our manga. So like for my off-the-monitor knowledge here right now, I would say that from like 2013 to like 2017, 2018, there was like a fever dream of content for Shonen Jump that they were just trying to find their next Naruto, and they were really striking out until they found My Hero Academia. In 2013, Horikoshi had already had 2 prior flops to My Hero Academia, remember? And to be quite honest, I've read Omagadoki Zoo and Barrage, and I would say that it just didn't really fit the form for Shonen Jump at the time, so I could see why they were like, okay, yeah, we can't really, mess with this. So Horikoshi takes that advice and goes, okay, I'm gonna fit the formula that you want, and I'm gonna create my own story. And what he does is create the first draft of My Hero Academia starring Quirkless Deku, and then moves on to the current one that we know now. And by borrowing a Western feel with shonen manga themes, Horikoshi is able to take that third pitch and turn it into a home run. Forget a home run, he turned it into a grand slam. My Hero Academia is known around the globe, and any time that it releases a volume, it charts on the New York Times bestseller list. And I will guarantee to every single one of you this one fact: Horikoshi has known how his story is gonna end before he even thought about how it was gonna begin. It would be a lot easier if I could just show you what I'm talking about. Let's head over to the wall. Alright, so before we start speculating about spin-offs and the possibility of the story not actually ending in 2022, let's talk about where the fight and when the fight might actually happen. Because right now in My Hero Academia, what they're doing is like a weird where everybody is at this point in time type of arc. I think you'd all agree with me when I say that the past 3 or 4 chapters in My Hero Academia have really kind of been building up the next arc. And to be quite honest, if you want to go Great Ninja War length and have an arc last 3 years, you could definitely have this building be the beginning of the end of the series. What I mean is the fight could like just start in March and just end in December. The heroes are already on the defensive, but something tells me that Horikoshi really wants us to hit rock bottom and make us feel like there is absolutely nothing left before he brings us all back up again. And it's kind of weird because one of my only reasons why I think that this might not quite be the end of My Hero Academia is because of Mei Hatsume and how she won't make the gear for Ida and Deku. And that's why I think that the next arc is going to involve Deku and Ida surpassing their limits even further. And to be quite honest, there is one character in the My Hero Academia universe that can teach these two knuckleheads to go beyond whatever they thought was possible, and that's Koichi. What, did you think somehow I wasn't gonna figure out how to incorporate the Vigilantes to a certain extent? First of all, Vigilantes is probably in the last 3 or 4 chapters of its entire series, so if you're not reading that, make sure you read it, because my guess is it's gonna move into My Hero Academia. I wasn't completely sold on it, but the past 3 chapters have literally been Deku walking up to people and being like, hey, it's time to roll, let's do this. The Vigilantes could teach the kids at UA so much. If Koichi figures out how to hone that learning process that taught him how to turn his simple slide and glide quirk to what it is now, imagine what he could do for the kids at UA. Maybe Koichi happens to be the guy that teaches Deku how to control the second user of One For All's quirk, or he happens to be the the guy that tells Ida, just because you can run fast doesn't mean you can't fly. I could totally see the volume now of them spray painting out Hero for Vigilante. Because the one thing that the Vigilantes could do is teach some of these heroes how to fend for themselves. These kids have never gone one-on-one with a villain and really done crime scene investigation to hunt them down. The Vigilantes, on the other hand, could give them that experience. To be honest, I actually think it would be cooler if you find out that Soga took on the moniker of Knuckle Duster and they find Knuckle Duster first and he says, you gotta go find the original Naruhata Vigilante. That could be possibly how the Vigilantes enter the story. All Might is planning something. We don't know exactly what it is, and for anything, that could be the endeavor that fails before the big fight. Because a lot of the speculation is that they're going to try to separate Shigaraki and All For One and try to handle them at the same time. If that is the case, that kind of does away with our theory that, Shigaraki will gain control of the body again and take out All For One. And I guess this is where it kind of goes back to talking about plots and how there's only 3 types of plots: happy endings, unhappy endings, and tragic endings. And if you're like, what's the difference between an unhappy ending and a tragic ending? Well, you have a happy ending, which is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Then you have an unhappy ending, where all of the heroes lose in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And you would think that Star Wars Episode 6 would be a happy ending, but no, it's a tragic ending because Luke finds out that in the end, he's able to preserve peace at the cost of losing the one person that he wanted to save, Darth Vader. Now I know I made a Star Wars reference in a My Hero Academia video, so everyone's gonna start shouting, Dad for one, Dad for one. But with the current ending in mind, there would have to be some crazy, maniacal shit going on that we have not fathomed in any way whatsoever. Because when you think about the actual ending of the story and how to deal with these villains, what do you do with them besides killing them? You have to figure out how to, Ozai them and take away what makes them them. I know, Avatar reference. If you haven't seen Avatar, you are really messing up here and you need to go watch it as soon as possible. For shame if you haven't seen Avatar. For real, it's a staple anime. And I don't care what people say, it is an anime. Because that story has the same type of trajectory for someone like Deku. Will Deku perpetuate the cycle and kill somebody just to make sure that nobody, ever gets hurt ever again? No, but there has to be reasons behind it. That's why I would say that Shigaraki kills All For One, because it takes All For One off the board and doesn't put any blood on the hero's hands. Then, simply enough, you would have Deku face off against Shigaraki and his army of lackeys or whatever it might be. Because really, what I expected to happen was Shigaraki to have his body stolen by All For One, and then All For One would kill the older version of himself and make sure that there was only one version of himself still around. And the only reason why I guess he hasn't killed himself is because he hasn't perfectly assimilated into Shigaraki's body. I try to think of this situation kind of like in the terms of when Doc Ock stole Peter Parker's body after he killed Peter Parker. Peter Parker's emotions and feelings were still inside of his brain. That's why when Doc Ock took over, he had feelings for Mary Jane and all that type of stuff. With that logic in mind, All For One gets all of the hatred that he needs to actually steal One For All. I really do hate to say this, but I do think that All Might's plan is going to fail. Because the question that I'm asking now is this a Black Op mission that the kids don't know about? Are the heroes trying to go in and murder the older All For One without anyone really even kind of knowing? Because if they're trying to pull a fast one on the guy that's the king of fast ones, I don't see it going well. But on the off chance that it does happen, what do they gain? They still have a super powered, pretty much nuclear tank in Shigaraki just waiting to get unleashed again. And by capturing All For One and bringing him inside of UA, all you do is give him prime pickings to steal some quirks. And I will say this right now, if they do some sort of Black Op to capture the older All For One and it succeeds and they capture him and all of that, I do think that we can put some more weight behind the Dad For One theory. There are several different situations that we can theorize from that possibility of the All For Ones getting separated for a fight. Maybe All For One realizes that he needs to consolidate his consciousness. That one reason alone would give the All For One variant of Shigaraki the reason to kill the older version. And if that does happen and the vestige of All For One fully takes over Shigaraki at that point when the older version dies, we can say right now that when All Might dies, One For All will be complete. My original speculation was that Shigaraki was going to be able to maintain his consciousness and be like, All For One, get out of my body, and kill All For One. But now what we're learning is that All For One probably has been doing this for a pretty long time, so he's just going to take over Shigaraki with no problem. And that old line of thinking was defeated by my new line of thinking because of this scene right here where we see that Tenko Shimura is waiting for Deku to save him. And I do think that the final fight of My Hero Academia is going to take place within the Singularity itself. I mean, let's be real, it's only a matter of time before My Hero Academia does its crazy manga ending and has the final battle take place within the mind. That's what I've always speculated. I've said that the final fight is going to take place within the Singularity, and All Might is going to be inside of the Singularity, and they're going to team up to take down All for One with Shigaraki's help. The thing is, along the way, each successor to One for All is probably going to be defeated by All for One, meaning by the end of the fight, we're probably going to have a quirkless Deku once again. And with that thought in mind, we could say that My Hero Academia has a circular type of plot, meaning at the end of the story, the hero is exactly where he was in the beginning of the story, a quirkless individual trying to make their way through life. So let me know if you agree with any of my theories. I shot a lot out there today, and I was really just kind of talking about the series as a whole. There's so much to be assumed with only a little bit of time left, so I really do feel like this was the perfect time to assume when the ending might occur and what might happen during that ending. I would like for it to continue going on because I feel like the story just has so much more to bring, especially if eventually you have a story called My Hero Agency where it's Deku just solving crime. I would absolutely read that manga, but that's where it steeps into the realm of being more like a Western comic, and that's not what really Shonen Jump jives with. So be sure to let me know your feelings about how you think My Hero Academia might end. Oh, and also, your favorite millennial YouTuber is finally on TikTok. Follow me in the comments down below. I talk more about DC and MCU stuff there. But until next time, I'll catch y'all later. Cheers.